Hello. Oops. I get rid of this.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Hannah, everybody.
Hi, Priya. Yes, I think we can start now.
We can, right?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do it.
Yeah. So, and we have Noor who's joined. Hi, guys. Sorry, you'll have to bear with me a little bit because unfortunately, I am the back end person on this one today. And I'm not the best with technology, but I'm trying to manage everything, including hosting this call. So, uh, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Priya. I am the Senior Sustainability Manager for Unilever across MENA, Russia, Turkey, Ukraine, and Belarus. And we're really here today in order to meet our ambition of making sustainable living commonplace. And we want to do that by initiating a movement. And the only way we can really do that is by ensuring that we are driving a shared understanding of what is really sustainability, what are the issues within our community that we need to address. And after that, where possible, providing opportunities for young change makers like yourselves who are here in the call today to actually drive that element of change. Today, our topic is focused on plastic packaging. And we have an agenda of an hour and a half. We're going to spend about the first 20 minutes, uh, you know, introducing a little bit about plastics, and thereafter diving broadly into what are called the SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals. Keep a watch out because after all of this, we're going to run a game where we're going to test your knowledge of whatever you've absorbed. Yeah, and it's going to be a fun game. So keep your device or something handy because we'll give you the details as to how to log in. We then follow that up with a presentation on how Unilever is rethinking its plastic packaging, and that's going to be led by our research and development manager, who's with us today. We do have a Q&A, so do start inputting your questions into the chat box as you think of them. Don't just wait till the end. We then, in order to provide a level of motivation, we have a young entrepreneur called Yara Yassin who set up a wonderful operation to do with used plastics. She'll come and talk to us as to what were her motivations, what was her challenge, how did she set up her enterprise. And we are then going to follow that up at the end with some opportunities for your further engagement. So if you're really passionate about sustainability, want to make a change within your communities, that's where you get involved. Yeah. And we then end with the Q&A with Yara. Yeah. So here are just a few housekeeping points. Do try and keep your microphone on mute, yeah, so that we don't disturb each other, but keep your cameras on. We want to feel your energy. We want to interact with you, yeah. Type your questions in the chat box and be ready to engage. And of course, keep your ears and eyes open. So let's start with a little bit of about plastic packaging. And the thing is, plastic was really introduced in the early 1960s. And in these intervening years, that means between 1960 and today, the use of plastic has doubled, yeah, and it is expected to quadruple by 2050, yeah. And the reasons for this are that number one, plastic is actually a brilliant material. It is lightweight, it is easy to use, it is very, very durable. Yeah. And this is what actually helps protect products, helps companies like us put them on the shelf for a long period of time so that consumers like yourself have access to these products. And what it effectively does is it also helps reduce waste. So globally, almost about a third of food that is produced worldwide actually gets wasted. Yeah, because it is very difficult to actually secure it and be able to transport it from countries that are producing in excess to countries that really need this element of food. Yeah, this is where an element like plastic comes into play. But the problem with plastic is really the fact that once we as consumers, we end up using the plastic without thinking, we then discard it. Yeah, and it's this plastic that ends up going into the oceans and within the environment. Yeah, and today there is almost about 8 million tons of plastic that actually ends up in the ocean. Yeah, so you have almost large islands. They're the size of countries. There's one next to the US, which is just merely made up of floating waste, including a large element of plastic. Yeah, and only about 5% of plastic ends up being recycled. Yeah. Now, for those who actually saw our invite, what is really asked is plastic a waste or can it be a source of value? And this is what we're here to share with you. Yeah, the fact that because plastic is littering the environment, it is seen as a big waste. Yeah. However, countries that are able to collect their used plastic, recycle and reuse them, yeah, are seeing it as an excess element of added value. Yeah. As an organization, we've actually done an element of research in the UAE with the UAE government, which actually shows that if we were to put that, if we were able to collect used plastic, segregate it properly, recycle and reuse it, it would really add to the GDP of the country. So, plastic, it depends on how we end up. Either do we end up discarding it? Do we end up using it? That will decide whether it's waste or a source of value. Now, that's really just a little bit about the session today. But getting into the broader topic of the Sustainable Development Goals, the Sustainable Development Goals are also known as the Global Goals. They were introduced in 2015 and they will end by 2030. Yeah. And there are about 17 goals. We'll take you through them. We have a lovely video, which explains what these 17 goals are. And underpinning these 17 goals are 169 targets. Yeah. Now, the Sustainable Development Goals have been developed in such a way that almost everybody, every organization, every individual can contribute to one of these 17 goals in some way or the other. Yeah, there are 193 countries that signed up to achieving these goals and implementing them. And one of the key things about the SDGs, the way they've been framed and also communicated very widely, is the fact that their achievement is not just dependent on a particular body. It's not just dependent on government or regulators to try and achieve it. It is not just dependent on companies like ourselves. It's not just the responsibility of NGOs or educational institutes or consumers like yourself. But the point is, all of us have to work collectively. All of us have a role to play, and all of us can actually help in achieving them. Now, this is really what explains how each of us has a role. Yeah, and this is explained under, you usually get the 5 Ps, which are the people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnerships. But one of the things that the SDG has been formulated on is the concept of collective participation. So here's that video that I had promised you, and it explains about the SDGs.
The United Nations is an organization with goals of peace and sustainable development around the world. Their mission is huge, but we're breaking it down in 2 minutes. 17 sustainable development goals. Let's get to them, cause the more you know. Look, in some corners of the world today, people are living on $1 a day. Hey, that's not how it ought to be. So goal 1, eliminate poverty. And goal 2, root out hunger across the globe. There's 800 million people hungry if you want to know. Number 3 is health and well-being, and getting people the health care that they need in. Learning in school are the harder goal for. Education opens up minds and doors. Goal number 5 is empower girls and women so they can have the same rights that men are given. Number 6, people need water that's clean. Poor sanitation can spread disease. Carbon-free energy is goal number 7, and how to achieve it is a question that's pressing. But if we put our minds together and work hard, we can find a solution, I'm guessing. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it. Now imagine that you work all day for no pay. Economic growth and decent work is goal 8. Goal number 9 is to foster innovation in infrastructure and industrialization. Goal number 10, inequality reduction. 11 is sustainable city construction. 12, well, that's sustainable consumption. So what we use matches up with production. Goal 13 calls for urgent action to combat climate change, cause we know it's happening. 14, protect life under seas. 15, protect life on land. Goal 16 is for peace and justice. All over the planet, they're in high demand. And the final goal, number 17, is the critical factor, the heart of the machine. It's the strength in the way we achieve these goals of sustainable development around the globe. Yo, 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it. 17 sustainable development goals to improve life all around the globe. Protecting human health and the environment. Whatever bed we make, we gon' have to lie in it.
Okay. So that was the
United Nations is an organization.
We're now getting to the activity. So if everybody can pull out their device and log into www.menti.com and use the code that's given, which is 9474683. Hannah Alifia, if you could just put it also in the chat. So anybody who misses out on this, yeah, because I've just got to flip screens. If you miss out on this, just look into the chat. You'll get the details there and do log on. Yeah. So you can see the details up here, which is menti.com, and the code is out there. So yep, keep joining in, join in. The code is 9474683. And I'm just waiting for a few more people to join in. Do remember, one of the things about this game is the faster you answer, the earlier you're going to get onto that leaderboard. So you're going to be leading it if you answer fast and correctly. Okay, so we are going to start the game. Yes, and we're getting to the first question. Oh, sorry, I seem to have missed the question. Oh, great. Sorry, like I said, please excuse me. I'm trying to manage things at the back end. Oh, why am I not getting the question? So sorry, just bear with me. Yep, okay, I've just got to present that. Okay, that's the first question. How many sustainable development goals have been agreed to by all the world's nations as part of the 2030 agenda? You've got 3 options. Is it 11, 25, or 17? And you've got a few more seconds to go. 3, 2, 1. Time's up. And the correct answer is 17. And brilliant, there are 31 of you who actually answered correctly. Let's see who's on that leaderboard out there. And remember, it's about accuracy and speed. Both things count. Wow, so we've got MEA, yeah, who's number 1. I wonder what that's the acronym for. And then we've got Nather is number 2 and Mariam is number 3. Let's carry on, but remember, that's just the first question. Question 2. Is the SDGs came into effect on 1st January 2016. When are they due to expire? You've got 3 options: 2030, 2025, or 2050. And the answer is 2030. Could everybody just mute their mics, please? We've got 32 people. Excellent. Got that right. Let's see the leaderboard again. And we've got Mariam now leading with Nada in second and MEA in number 3. So keep up the good work, guys. Question 3 is now coming up. Be fast on that trigger. Each SDG is supported by a set of targets, which are specific objectives associated with that goal. How many targets are there in total? 99, 169, or 51? Be fast, be fast. Okay, not as many people, yeah. Didn't get that correct, so it's the correct answer is 169, yeah. Targets, let's see who's now leading that board. Well done, MEA, for coming up 1 position. And Mariam, congratulations for being on the top. Next question. How many countries have agreed to the SDGs? Options are 176, 193, or 204. Be fast, be quick, but be accurate. $25. Yeah. So the correct answer is actually 193 countries have actually signed up to the SDGs. And here's the leaderboard again. We've got the same suspects on top. Let's see if anybody else is coming up. No, we've still got Mariam leading the leaderboard. Well done, Mariam. And the 5th question is, which of the following is not part of the Sustainable Development Goals? Is it availability of water and sanitation for all, provision of internet services for all, or the promotion of decent jobs for all? So which one is not a part of the SDGs? Oh, well done, 27 if you got it correct. It's about the provision of internet services for all, which is not there in the SDGs. And we've got a new player in the top 3. That's Somya. And where is MEA? Okay, Mariam, congratulations for staying there. Keep up the good work. Question 6. We've got 4 more to go. It can get intense at the end. So who can work to achieve the 17 SDGs? And your options are, it's the public, the government, NGOs, companies, or all of the above. Now that was quick and well done. 37 of you got it correct. All of us. Yeah, all of us are responsible for the SDGs and making them work, contributing to them and their achievements. And we get Mariam still at the top. Well done, Mariam, followed by Nada pretty closely. So the next question, just got 3 more left, is what happens to plastic waste? Yeah, where do you think it goes? Is it's a biodegradable material, so it eventually disintegrates. It never fully goes away. It just breaks into little pieces. There is no such thing as plastic waste. All plastic is recycled. Oh, well done. That was really quick. Correct. It never does fully go away. So the very properties that make it so effective for keeping our produce safe and secure is exactly the reason why it never just goes away. And I would think our leaderboard kind of remains the same. Oh, okay. You've got Nada who's taken over and two new entities out there, RS and Ashley. Well done, guys. Mariam, you've got to try and come back. And this is our 8th question, which is, where does the majority of plastic waste actually end up? I'm sure that's easy. Is it in oceans, burnt for energy, or recycled? I'm sure that doesn't require much thinking. And yes, it currently, because we don't have the infrastructure to really collect, we don't have enough consumers who are willing to segregate it properly so that we can actually collect and recycle it. A majority of it is going to landfill and then going into oceans, rivers, and so on and so forth. Let's look at that leaderboard. I'm hoping to see that Mariam can bounce back. Oh, we've got RS who's taken over, but Nada is second. And this is our 9th question, second last to the final question. And how many million tons of plastic are dumped in our oceans every year? 1 million, 8 million tons, 20 million, or 50 million tons? And the correct answer is 8 million. Yeah, and 14 if you got it correct. Let's see who these 14 would be. Oh, see how it's changed it. Now there's up. She was the fastest. And this is the 10th and the final question, which is how much plastic is currently being recycled? I wonder who's going to remember this number. Is it 5%, 14, 30%, or 46%? You got to be fast to answer. But remember, you got to be correct. And the answer is 5%. So 25 of you got it right. Well done. Yeah. So let's see who actually wins this. And our winner is Nada. Nada, well done. Can you put on your camera? I can't see anybody. So can you put on your camera and let's see if we can actually see you? That'd be wonderful. Yeah. Okay, so now moving on, I'm going to actually hand over to our R&D manager for what is called beauty and personal care, Wasim Gina. Wasim, this is actually one of his favorite topics. Yeah, that's one of the favorite things that he likes to work on. This is a key part of his agenda that he works on. But he loves talking to change makers and youngsters yourself. He's pretty young, but don't be deceived by that. He's a treasure trove of knowledge on this subject, and he's done some brilliant work in Unilever South Africa before he moved here. So Wasim, over to you, and let me know when you want me to move my slides.
Thanks, Priya. Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a great afternoon. As Priya said, my name is Wasim. I look after research and development for beauty and personal care, and specifically our skincare business in this region. And then I also help Priya a lot on the sustainability agenda that we drive in this region, which is really great. Thanks, Priya. You can move a slide for me. And one more. Awesome. So, as you're all well aware, Unilever is a massive consumer goods company, and we're touching around 2.5 billion lives every day, or consumers who are using our products every day in 190 different countries, which means we have a huge footprint. And as you see on this slide, there's a lot of plastic on the slide. So plastic is a key part of the materials that we use. And at the same time, Unilever as a company has a huge ambition, and our drive as a sustainable company is well recognized throughout the globe, in terms of us being rated on the Dow Jones Sustainability Index as a winner and a leader for, I think, 6 or 7 years now, being a leader on the FTSE Good for Change index. On multiple indexes, Unilever is a leader in the sustainability agenda. We feel it our responsibility to ensure that we continue to drive that agenda forward. And plastics is a huge point of that. Slide, Priya. So we know that plastic is a huge part of our agenda. However, we also know that it is a fantastic material. It's super lightweight. It's super good at protecting our products so that we're able to allow for our products to reach our consumers and give them a delightful experience. At the same time, it's low cost, which allows us to reach so many more consumers through our efforts. However, the challenge is that is that we've used so much more plastic in the world than we could have ever thought. We've increased the amount of use in the last 50 years by 20 times, and the next 20 years we expect that number to double even further. By 2050 we expect that number to quadruple. So there's just so much plastic, and we keep producing more and more and more of it. However, we still understand the value that it is, and that's why it's a necessary material for us to have. Slide. Well, we've learned that it's become an emerging source of pollution. Everywhere we look, we can find plastic in our environment, in the ocean. We can find animals being affected by it, and it's littering and killing the wildlife, the environment. And as Priya said, the number that's actually recycled is somewhere between 5%, 10%. The numbers even on this are, because there's so much of it and it's everywhere, we can't even get a good scope of it. The numbers lie between 5 and 15% of it is collected for recycling, and even less of it is actually recycled, because once it gets collected, does it end up in a recycler? It's a huge problem. Whilst we know that almost a third of it ends up in our ecosystems and 40% of it ends up in landfills, which is also not a great place, because we need to deal with that landfill at some point in a later stage through the cycle. Slide. So how does the plastics industry currently operate? If you look at the top of the slide, you'll see that raw materials, oil, are entered into a cycle. We then create polymers out of it. So some part of the oil is used for making diesel, petrol, gasoline that we use to run our cars, and other things are used for other parts, but one part of it is used to make plastics. We take those plastics, we change them into bottles or wrappers, or any of the other things that we use as packaging, and we create branded goods. That's what we as Unilever do. We then take our products and we sell them to retailers like Carrefour or Union Co-op, whoever, a different retailer. A consumer then takes it and uses it. So you finish using your Dove shower gel, and this is where the huge challenge and the huge opportunity lies. At the end of that usage occasion, what happens? As you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, it can either go into landfill, it can be burned, or it could just be dumped in nature, and that's what happens to 90% of our plastic. Only this 10% or 5% or 40%, somewhere around that very low number, is actually recycled, and that recycled plastic is then goes into the waste collection and sorting procedure and then recycled, and hopefully it turns into something that we can do. But this is where the huge opportunity lies, at the bottom left-hand corner. Thanks, Priya. Next slide. So here's a nice, interesting question. I don't know, Priya, can participants answer? You're on mute. You're on mute still. I can't. Anyway, we'll see how we get along over here. So here's an interesting question, which is, on the left-hand side, we see a plastic bottle and a glass bottle. And the simple question is, which is the greener solution? Which is the greener option for us? We have some answers coming through. And on the right-hand side, we have another question for you, which is the greener option, the paper bag or the plastic bag? And the question is, which is greener? And it seems like a simple answer in the context of this question, where we're talking about plastic. It seems very simple. We should always choose the glass bottle because it's very recyclable. It doesn't end up in our oceans. We don't have any challenges with it. And on the other side, we should. My screen is going crazy over here, but it's all good. Glass and paper, glass and paper, glass and paper. Pretty much the standard answer, which I was expecting, glass and paper. And on the right-hand side, we have the we have the paper bag versus the plastic bag, and that's great. If we look at it from the lens of which is more recyclable, in most cases, the glass bottle is more recyclable and the paper bag is more recyclable. Also, if we had to leave a paper bag in the environment, in theory, it will break down and we could leave it. So on this one simple metric, it is the better option. However, and this is where the huge challenge comes in, and that's a big part of my job in research and development, we need to look at this holistically, because we have another challenge in the world, which is climate change and greenhouse gases. It takes us 4 times more energy for us to create a glass bottle than it does for us to create a plastic bottle. A glass bottle on average weighs 3 to 4 times more in terms of weight than a plastic bottle. So when I transport the glass bottle, I then need to use more gas in my truck to transport this, because you need to move more weight along. So when we start looking at these things holistically, we start to understand that maybe it's not as simple as it seemed at first, because the word greener in this context, in the discussion we're having today, speaks about recycling. But in a different context and in a wider context, it also speaks about greenhouse gases, climate change. And a similar understanding can be made for the plastic bags and paper bags, where we understand that the amount of land that's used. If you think about it, in this region, for example, we don't grow trees that make paper bags, which means we chop down trees somewhere else in the world. We take those trees, we ship it over here, and then we make the paper bag. If you think about it, how much carbon was involved in transporting that from, let's just assume that it came from Africa. We transported it from Africa or India or wherever, and it came all the way here. Then we process it, and in order to process it, you have to make it first into a pulp, so you need to use water in that process. Then you have to use a lot of energy to heat it back up, and then you produce the bag. In that same way, when we start to measure it against the other material, against plastic in this case, we start to see it may not be better on all parts of the scale. Slide, Priya. So we made a nice little table over here, which you can see at the top, which explains plastic versus other materials. On the left-hand side, you see glass, aluminium, steel, paper, and board. And we looked at a couple of different metrics. So plastic versus glass is worse in energy consumption. So to produce glass uses more energy. To produce aluminium uses steel, paper, all of these use more energy than it does to create plastic. The same when we look at it versus greenhouse gases, the same same and better, aluminium and steel start to look at similar amount of land usage as plastic. In water usage, again, we're worse on glass and aluminium. And we know that water is another precious resource which you're running out of, so we need to ensure that happens. And then the last part is the one that generally people jump to when thinking about plastic, which is the recyclability point of view. So in this way, we have to look at this holistically, and that's what the circular economy speaks about. It's not just looking at recycling; it's looking at it holistically, because we need to protect our planet against all of these things which are trying to attack us. And a nice little comparison at the bottom. It's just a FYI. I mean, we don't produce paper bags or plastic bags, but when you start to compare a plastic bag, a simple bag that you pick up from your supermarket, when you compare it versus a paper bag, you need to use it at least three times for the paper bag to start making better sense. Start making more sense in terms of life cycle analysis. A bag for life, which is a heavy plastic bag, you start needing to use about 10 times. A non-woven bag is like 20 times. Close to 20 times. And then the cotton bag, this is the big one, which uses 130 times is how many times you need to use that cotton bag which gets sold in order to equal one plastic bag. So this is when we need to start thinking about consumer behaviors and how do we influence consumer behaviors to allow for them to use and reuse, because that's what a big part of it is. How do we reuse? How do we get into the circular economy? But on a like-for-like basis, the answer is not always as simple as it may seem. Cool. So our ambition is to move from a linear economy, a straightforward take, make, dispose. And when I say dispose, we're talking of throwing away every year. The industry throws away between 80 and 120 billion dollars worth of plastic because we just take it and throw it away, right? We took all the effort, time, manpower to pull it out of the earth, convert it into a plastic bottle, and then we take it and we throw it on the floor. And that's estimated to be worth $120 billion every year. Our point of view is, how do we make that into circular economy? How do we keep the economy turning? How do we keep the value within the cycle by making sure we use it, we recycle it, and we make sure that we're doing it responsibly by taking into account a full life cycle analysis, and then we make new products out of it so that we don't just throw it away and we aren't just throwing all that value away that we've just pulled out of the earth because it is limited. And that's the circular economy in a nutshell. Slide. With the video, hopefully it works.
There's a lot of plastic pollution in the environment, and the uncomfortable truth is that some of it has got our name on it, and that is not okay with us. In fact, it hasn't just made us think, it's made us rethink. So now more than ever at Unilever, we're rethinking the way that we use plastic packaging in our products. You could say we're getting drastic with plastic.
We don't want to get rid of plastic entirely.
For the safe, efficient, and economic distribution of our products.
Plastic still has its place.
But that place isn't our environment.
Not in our streets, not in our rivers, and not in our oceans.
No, where plastic belongs
is inside something called the circular economy.
This is where plastic is either reused,
recycled,
or made compostable.
It's kept in a loop
to stop it from ever finding its way
into the environment.
And this way of thinking is already changing the way we are acting.
In the next 5 years,
we'll halve the amount of virgin, unrecycled plastic that we use.
And as part of that, we will get rid of more than 100,000 tons of plastic packaging.
Completely.
In the next 5 years, working with our partners,
we'll help collect and process
more plastic packaging than we sell.
Yes, more than we sell.
And in the next 5 years,
100% of the plastic we do use
will be reusable,
recyclable,
or compostable.
Every last bit of it.
We also need you, our consumers, our suppliers, our retailers, our employees, and many others to join us on this journey. Because there are things that you can do that will make a real difference. So please help us to close the loop on plastic, and let's make our blue planet blue again.
Thanks, Priya. It's always a good motivating video when our CEO tells us about what we're going to do on plastic, and it's, I know there's the one guy who's just like, yes, we're going to do it. It's great. But at the end of it, what I said in that video, hopefully you caught it. Sorry, someone's on mute. I can hear a let's just hear it back. But what they said in that video was there was 3 main goals which would lead us towards the circular economy, and you can see them here up on the screen. The first one, the first one that you'll see, which is on the bottom left, which is the goal that we had from a few years ago actually, which is that 100% of our plastic will be reusable, recyclable, or compostable packaging. That means that everything we design needs to be made in such a way that it can be used again in the circular economy. That's a key point. The second point is we need to stop using the amount of virgin plastic or brand new plastic, oil-based plastic that we are currently using. And we'll do that by reducing it by half in the next 5 years. That means that we're going to start using a lot more recycled plastic and just absolutely reducing the amount of plastic that we use by getting better at the way we design our products. And the last point, and this is the key point of the circular economy, is we will collect and process more than we sell, which means that we will ensure that more plastic than we put out into the world is collected, kept in the circular economy, and actually processed back. Because in that way, we keep it out of the oceans, out of the environment, and out of landfills. Cool. The Unilever strategy is very simple. We have 3 pillars that we base it on. Less plastic, which means we ultimately just use absolutely less plastic by using technologies such as lightweighting, using, for example, we have a technology in which we pump nitrogen into the middle part of the bottle, the thin middle walls of the bottle. By doing this, we're able to create a honeycomb structure and reduce the amount of plastic that we're using. We're also able to do it by concentrating our products. If you look at Comfort as a brand, for example, in the fabric conditioner, the big bottles of fabric conditioner that you used to get of 2 liters and 3 liters are now sold in 800 ml bottles because you're now able to use them in a concentrated dosage. The second pillar is better plastics. This part, we have 2 parts. One is the fact that we will make it all recyclable so that it can be recycled in the stream, because not all plastics are recyclable. And the second part is that we will start to use more recycled plastic that has been previously had a life as a different bottle or a different product and comes back into our products, and we're able to do that. And the last point, we use no plastic, and that's how we'll reduce ultimately the amount of plastic. But this is the most challenging one, as it requires a lot of people's mindsets to change around, for example, refills and bringing your bottle and your reusable bottle back to the store to refill it in the store. Slide, please. Loop. I don't know if we need to play the video, Priya, but Loop is an innovative delivery model in which it's basically like an Amazon-style delivery service where you're able to just click and order, and they come and they take your product away from you, sorry, your empty bottle, and they give you back a new bottle. And the whole idea is it just continuously loops around, and all of your products are infinitely used and refilled. And they've got a huge model. This is a great model. It works where we have developed infrastructure and logistics. Slide. Oh. Hopefully we can skip it. However, in other countries where we don't have these innovative models available to us because the infrastructure and the cost of setting these things up becomes prohibitive, we have to find solutions. We also have a huge problem of small sachets, which Unilever sell a lot of in order to allow for our products to get to our consumers who can't afford to pay for big bags. And the challenge with them is that these lightweight plastics have no value, and they're also super difficult to recycle because often they're made up of multiple different types of plastic. And that's where we've partnered with the Fraunhofer Institute to develop a Cresolve, which is a technology which allows for us to separate the 2 layers of plastic and recycle it. It's really breakthrough technology, and this is how we'll find ways in making sure that our plastic is recyclable, sometimes by changing the actual design of the packaging, but also influencing how do we recycle plastics. Slide. Another challenge we have, if you know that our iconic brands such as Tresemme or Sunsilk, these brands get sold in black bottles. Even Axe gets sold in a black bottle. The problem with black bottles is when it goes into a recycling stream, we use infrared technology to determine what type of plastic the bottle is. The challenge is black doesn't reflect infrared. It absorbs it, and then the machine can't identify what material it is. And for that, we partnered with some of our suppliers to create a pigment which we can include inside the plastic, which allows for it to be detectable, and it can get told. So now the machine is able to detect it, and the infrared works again, and we're then able to actually recycle black plastics, which is a great breakthrough that we were able to do, I think, 2 years ago now. Slide. The whole idea behind this is to ensure that in all parts of the circular economy, we're impacting to ensure that we're able to get this full circular economy going. As a manufacturer, our key aim is for designing for recyclability, and as you saw, our 3 goals that we have of reducing our use of plastic, our virgin plastic, collecting, and designing. For the area of consumers, we're ensuring that we educate our consumers through on-pack communications, through the way that we're marketing to them, as well as by using marketing tools such as reverse vending machines. Reverse vending machines are machines which can be installed in stores. You put a bottle in and maybe you get a discount voucher or some sort of incentive back to ensure that consumers actually make sure that their products go into recycling streams and not thrown away into the environment. Also here in the MEA region, we're working a lot with governments in being able to execute an EPR. EPR is a term which is going to become more and more popular. It's extended producer responsibility. And what it means is basically you need to pay some sort of tax or some sort of incentive on the amount of packaging waste you put out. But the great part of it is that it'll be all used to really uplift the infrastructure that we have in these countries to ensure that recycling and collection of waste is happening and keeping the material out of the environment. We also work a lot with governments on changing regulations, because some of the regulations are preventing us from going forward with a lot of our designs and what we need to be doing in order to encourage a circular economy. And lastly, we have the innovator part of it. Over here, we've signed a deal with BIA, which is a waste management company here in the UAE, which will lead to the creation of a world-class recycling facility, which will really enable the UAE to pick up its recycling rates. Another thing that we're doing in the innovator space is the Unilever Young Entrepreneurs Award, which every year we're funding and awarding young people for innovative ideas and solutions to a lot of these SDGs and the challenges of waste. Slide. And there's never been a better time to create a brighter future. Thank you very much. I think I'm a little bit over. Sorry, Priya.
No, that's fine, Wasim. So we are going to go into a Q&A with Wasim. Do put in your questions in the chat, but while I wait for that to happen, there's just a little bit of an update. So one of the things that we are doing as Unilever is we are really creating a youth community. And if you are interested in being a part of this community, then please put down your name and email ID in the chat box. The benefits that you get from being a part of our youth community is essentially you will get advance notice and invitations to workshops and events, which we are exclusively hosting for the youth. You will receive alerts with regards to our progress and commitments on our sustainability agenda, and you will be the first to hear about upcoming competitions, projects, and opportunities, which would be open exclusively for the youth. Yeah, so if you're interested, please put down your name. And in the meantime, I need to check and see if there are any questions that you might have put down. So I cannot see any. Oh, thank you for those who started putting their questions down. I can't see any questions on plastic.
There was one comment, Priya, which I just thought I'd pick up on, which was about algae bioplastics. And it's quite an interesting topic because bioplastics is something obviously that we're investigating as a company, but it's very important for us to understand what does a bioplastic mean. Bioplastics in most cases are plastics that are coming from a different source, which are not oil-based plastics. However, once you process them, they become the same as a plastic, and they then lead to the same problem. So yes, the source is not oil, but the problem of it remaining forever in the environment, that problem still exists. The challenge, as you mentioned, I think earlier, Priya, around biodegradable plastics, is the exact reason we want plastics is because they're very good at protecting our products. But how do we control that time in which they biodegrade? Because we don't want them biodegrading before they finish protecting the product. And this is where the big challenge of biodegradable plastics also come from. And as we know, and as you mentioned, biodegradable plastics break down into smaller pieces, but never completely disappear. So how do we make sure that we get the right types of plastic?
Yeah, that's a good point, Wasim, because I think I just wanted to add out there is that a lot of people, the minute they hear bio, they think natural, but especially with regards to biodegradable plastic, the important point to keep in mind is that it has to degrade under certain conditions, which have to be managed. That's number one. So if as a consumer, you just throw it into the environment, it's not going to biodegrade. But like Wasim said, it's going to break up into very small particles and cause even more issues because it's going to go into the air, it's going to go into the water sources, which we end up consuming, into the air, which we end up breathing. So one has to be a little careful and considerate and considered when you think of different materials and what is better than the other.
Yeah, there's...
Sorry, Wasim, you want to...
Yeah, there's one material which we see a lot of now. It's becoming quite popular across the globe and in this region, which is the straws. And there's these straws which say, "I'm not plastic," and they're made from a material called PLA, which is a cornstarch-based plastic. The challenge is that plastic, one, environmentally, in terms of greenhouse gas and stuff, it comes from South America, processed in India. It's a huge challenge on that point. But the second point is it starts to contaminate our good waste streams. So if you start to put that plastic into a PET recycling facility for your soft drink bottles, it then contaminates it and makes the quality of that plastic less. The second problem, as you mentioned, it only decomposes under very specific conditions which in nowhere in the Middle East do we have access to. I mean, I think Australia and Europe have these facilities available for it, but nowhere in the Middle East do we have composting facilities, industrial composting facilities available.
Yeah, so we've got two questions here. One is by Yusuf. He's asking, when does Unilever plan to be completely plastic free via delivery systems and packaging technologies like Loop?
So in the as you would have seen from our targets, we don't have a vision of becoming plastic free. What we do have a vision of is ensuring that none of our plastic ends up in the environment and that it all works in a circular mode. Even in Loop, plastic is still involved in it. Plastic is such an important part of our everyday lives. For example, if you need a stent for your heart, it's made out of plastic. In your cell phone, you need plastic. So plastic is everywhere. So even in the Loop model, the liner that we will use for the Loop model to ensure that we have a good seal so that the product doesn't get contaminated, so that when you use it, it's safe for you to use, will still be, as of today, made of plastic. So we don't have a vision of getting rid of plastic. What we do have a vision of is ensuring that all that plastic stays in the circular economy and keeps and doesn't leak out into the environment.
Absolutely. It's well said, Wasim, absolutely. The next question is with regards to consumer mindset. So it's very important in driving circularity or a circular economy. Can you explain a little more on how you aim to achieve that change in mindset?
Yeah, so I think the key point, as mentioned, is the consumer mindset. Without the consumers completely buying into the idea of circular economy, we can't do it as a company. But what we can do is make it easier for them to change mindsets. For example, by firstly, making sure that our plastics are recyclable, by clearly labeling it, by educating them, by giving them incentives for recycling and keeping it within the loop. All of these sorts of things allow for us to do it. For example, where we have refill packs use less plastic. Refill packs allow for us to take materials which are currently not recyclable. For example, every time you use a pump, a pump bottle, they contain a little metal spring. That metal spring makes the plastic makes it not recyclable, makes that pump. But if we're now able to take that pump and reuse it and reuse it and reuse it, as opposed to buying a new pump on every single bottle, we're then able to reduce the part that is not recyclable, and we can recycle the other part. In this way, we're able to change consumers' mindsets. We have a long way to go, and we know that, and we're working on it every day. That's a big part of my job every day.
Yeah. But you're correct. As a company, I think one of the things we are known for is bringing about behavior change. So, what Wasim mentioned is correct. How do you incentivize? So there is a smaller percentage of the population which would like to do the right thing, but a larger population that follows. You've got to deal with providing them with the correct incentives to change initial behavior into, habits.
If we just look in our own lives, each of us today, look in our own lives and think about when did you choose the easier option as opposed to, let's call it for now, the right option of recycling something. And every day you'll find that you need to find incentive to do the right thing. So that's what a key part of our strategy is going to be.
Yeah. So how do you keep incentivizing so that it becomes a shift in behavior eventually? Yep. Okay. So there's another one, which is George has asked, what are the safety and health considerations you have incorporated into your innovations and total design improvements?
The safety and health considerations. I mean, all of our products, whether using recycled plastic, virgin plastic, if it is recyclable, not recyclable, go through the very strict, health and safety standards, go through a lot of testing to ensure that there's no contamination that comes into it, and that we're able to ensure that the product is safe for consumer use. For example, recycled plastic that we use is in most cases a food grade plastic. So that same recycled plastic is also used in soft drink cartons or water bottles or milk, and that's how we're ensuring that the quality and the safety of our products are ensured.
Yeah. Now, I think there was the last question, and I think you might have answered this, which is about the cassava plastics. Did you answer that?
Yes, yeah, it's similar to the bioplastic.
The sauce.
The cassava one is great because I saw the bag. I think it came from Morocco, and there was someone, and I took it and I put it inside a cup of water and I left it on my desk. 1 year later, it's still not degraded. So,
oh, really?
If someone has a video of a cassava bag degrading, well, please do share it with me because I'm yet to see it happen.
Great. Could you create a credit system for the refilling protocol of your products?
Exactly. I mean, that's one of the ways in which we would go about it, right? You'd get sort of a deposit scheme is one option that we could look into, where I think many soft drink companies do it, where you bring the glass bottle back and you get a certain amount of money back, and then it's refilled and then resold to you. Second one is because there's no packaging that we have to then sell to you in the refill system, we're able to transport it in bulk, and we don't have to sell any packaging. We're then able to offer a incentive in the form of hopefully a price decrease to the consumer. So I don't know about a credit system, but for sure there will be an incentive for you refilling it in store. And that's how we would get about changing consumer behavior, because we know we need to incentivize them, and if the cost of sustainability cannot be pushed onto our consumers.
Yep. Okay. So I know there are a few more questions, Wasim, where I'll try and see if you and I can answer them later, but I think we need to move on because we have another section. So thanks so much for your time. I think that was very interesting. Hopefully everybody found it very informative also. So we will now, thanks Wasim. We'd now like to move on to providing you with a great source of inspiration. And like to introduce you to Yara Yassin. She is the co-founder and design director for Upfuse. Upfuse is a lifestyle brand and a social enterprise that actually creates bags and accessory products out of upcycled plastic bags. And my understanding is Yara has received a number of awards for her work. So Yara, if you're there, over to you, and I'll be happy to be moving the slides for you. Over to you. Hello? Do we have Yara there? Hello? So, not sure if we have Yara or if she has not been able to connect. So what I'll quickly do is, while we wait for her, we'd like to, in the meantime, show you a little video that outlines how you as change makers can make a difference within your community by seeing how others like yourselves are doing it across the world. So take a look at this lovely video. Oh, sorry.
Hello, I'm Emma Watson. We have an urgent mission to complete by 2030, and I really need your help. We need to fight global inequality, end extreme poverty, and respect our planet. Watch this film to find out how you can use your creativity and power to help us achieve these goals. Thank you.
Hello? Hello? Are you there? I was just saying that we have to use our creative superpowers to achieve the United Nations global goals. How? Although the Earth is just a tiny speck in space, it seems enormous to us when we're on it. The global goals can seem huge too. But if you focus on fixing the things where you live, you can make a big difference. There are 3 ways you can help. You can invent, and campaign. So buckle up, and let's take a lightning flight around the world to see what young people are doing already. First stop is Istanbul in Turkey, where we meet Elif. She's an inventor. Like many big cities, there's a lot of pollution in Istanbul, some caused by petroleum-based plastics. Elif wasn't happy about that and wondered what she could do. So she invented a new natural plastic made from banana skins. No, seriously. It's cheap, easy to recycle, and you can make it in your own kitchen. And if you like banana desserts, you can't really lose, unless you eat too much. So, let's talk about toilets. This is Rohit. He lives in Bangalore in India. The population there is growing very quickly, and so is all the, well, waste. A regular toilet uses 6 litres of water each time it's flushed. This is too much where water's scarce. So Rohit invented a toilet that saves 50% of that water. He called it the vacuum flush. His invention won an international science prize, and now he's flushed with his own success. Thanks, Elif. You can be an innovator, be creative, and think about how to improve the way we live. Take urban creators in North Philadelphia. This amazing group of teenagers reclaimed derelict land in a dangerous, run-down neighbourhood. They built a thriving farm where they grow fresh food and now supply hundreds of local homes and restaurants. Life Do Grow Farm has transformed the community and made it healthier and safer for everyone. Now, let's go to Nigeria, which has one of the fastest growing populations in the world. This is Team Charis, a group of brilliant girls who are solving a big problem. Team Charis realised that in parts of Nigeria, lots of people get sick because rubbish isn't cleaned up properly. So they created Discardius, a phone app to report waste and have it taken away safely by eco-friendly cars. See? Sometimes a healthier world is just one great idea away. You could be a campaigner. Malati and Isabel are sisters from Bali. They've been on a mission to stop plastic bags from harming their beautiful island home. Millions of plastic bags end up in the ocean. They pollute the water and harm marine life. Malati and Isabel decided enough was enough. They organised petitions and beach cleanups, and now their efforts have convinced their governor to ban plastic bags in Bali by 2018. Finally, let's go to Jordan. This is Mazoom from Syria. She used to live in a refugee camp. Many girls in the camp had to marry so young that they had to give up their education. Mazoom thought this was a big mistake, and she waged a campaign to convince parents to keep their daughters in school and not make them marry too young. All girls have a right to a great education. And just look at what one educated girl can achieve with enough determination. Young inventors, innovators and campaigners everywhere are changing the world for good. And so can you. You just need to care, get creative and collaborate. If we all do that, by 2030 we can really make the global goals a reality. I'm just saying.
And I do hope that really provided a source of inspiration. Like Emma Watson said, remember the 3 C's. Yeah, you have to care, be creative. And what was the third one? That was the third one. And you've got to innovate, I think. Yeah. And you can all also make really a difference to your communities. Just outlining some of the opportunities that we have available for you if you have any great ideas as to what you might want to address within your communities. We do have, we're extending the date. We actually have 2 competitions. One is an article writing competition for those who have a love for the written word. So we're providing you with an opportunity to put down your thoughts as to the role that youth can play in the sustainability agenda. We also have a photo competition for those who may want to, you may like, to do photography. You don't have to be brilliant at it, but just have a great idea. and support that with a 500-word essay as to what is the change you want to bring within your communities. And we've already done 3 sessions. We ran a session on gender diversity and inclusion on February 23rd. Yesterday, we had one on addressing mental well-being and how Lipton is driving its purpose through quality connections and addressing loneliness. And today is our session on plastic. We have another one on sustainable manufacturing, where we have our VP supply chain speaking on that. So do try and join. Yeah, we will be sending you a link to to the recording and to our landing site where you can register for our competitions. Again, the competition, we are extending the date till 31st of March. So excuse that. And we do have Yara, who has now joined us. She had a bit of a connection problem. I'm just going to scroll back to her presentation. And like I mentioned, Yara is, she's the design director and co-founder of UpFuse. And I'd like to hand over to Yara. Yara? Yeah, I know she joined us, but I think she is having a connectivity issue. She is based out of Egypt, where the connectivity tends to be a bit iffy. So apologies. And what I'm going to do is scroll down again. We have a little survey that we would like you to complete. And if you can log on to menti.com again, using the code 4820777. We'd just like you to answer about 4 questions. And if you could go there, please. And the first question, so you can see the code up here, which is 4820777. The question that we're asking is, would you like to continue engaging with Unilever's sustainability agenda in the region? It's a simple yes or no. And we'd love to hear from more of you, so please log in. Thank you for the 12 who did put in. Thank you. We appreciate that. Yeah. And that's wonderful. Okay. I like to see that bar rising and rising, because you're going to kind of ensure that we raise our bar as to how we engage with you. So thank you for the 23 who did. 24, that's nice. I will now just move on to the next question, which is if you could just take your time to rate today's session on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest and 1 the lowest score. So thank you for everybody who entered that. Moving forward again. We'd just like to know, where did you hear about this workshop? And we've given you 4 different options. Thank you. Excellent. So we're glad to see that many of you are kind of seeing our emails. But where possible, do try and follow us on your social media and we will follow you back. We have Hannah, who is a social media manager out here in this call. Do enter. Or Hannah, is there any recommendation? Would you like them to? Can you put our social media account links? Would it be possible?
I did, guys. Everything's in the chat box. I'll copy and paste it again now so that you can see it fresh.
Excellent. Thanks, Hannah. Yeah, and we'd love for you to follow us and for us to follow you back, yeah, and understand what excites you. And Yeah, this is really an open-ended question. Do you have any suggestions as to how we can make our sessions more useful, engaging? This is an open-ended question. Try and use a word or two, or at the maximum a sentence, to tell us how we could do better and engage you further. Okay, so I think no recommendations. Oh, thank you. We appreciate that. We appreciate, thank you. Surprises, that's lovely. Yes. Take part, by the way, in the definitely in the photo competition. It does come with good prizes, whereby you can translate your your idea into action. More refresher sessions. Do feel free to put in what kind of sessions on sustainability would you like, and if it's an area of expertise for us, we will definitely hold them in the next quarter. So that's another thing. Keep telling us what you want. If we don't have the expertise, we can always try and use our partners and bring in that expertise. Breakout teams, excellent idea in terms of roundtables. We'd love to hear from you. That's what we intend doing in the future. Practical examples, yes, that is what we intend going forward with. Yes, practical examples through presentations, links. We will continue to share that with you. Yeah. I will then jump out of this because we have Yara, who is back with us, and I don't want to lose her because of connectivity. Yara, if you're there, over to you.
Hello everyone. Thanks for having me today. Can you hear me? I just
yes,
want to
Yara.
make sure that, yeah.
We
Hello,
can hear
everyone.
you. Just let me know. I will move your slides.
Cool.
And welcome.
Thank you. So this is me. I hope everyone is having a good day. My name is Yara Yassin. I'm a co-founder of Upfuse. Upfuse is a social enterprise and eco-friendly friendly business that creates bags and luggage from upcycled plastic bags. So all you see in this slideshow is 30 plastic bags that have been compressed together to create a new material. It's leather-like. That is then turned into bags and luggage and soon apparel. Moving forward, our material. This is the team. It's myself. I'm the one with short hair. Now it's longer, and my two other partners. Our team. We've been working together. Been working together since 2015 in establishing the company. Now we've been 6 years in business, and we also collaborate with local NGOs, which is, I think, in the next slide. Yeah, then the slide after, I believe. So we collaborate with the local NGOs, like the picture here, in Cairo, to help us create the material. So we went to the garbage city in Cairo, which is considered to be one of the largest landfills in the world. We work there with NGOs that want to support women and their children, and at the same time, they have to provide them with stable income so they can keep coming to the NGO. In this matter, we decided to offer them vocational trainings to help them upcycle our plastic material and turn them into the material you see on the bags. It took us almost a month to create a system and to have a supply chain. And of course, since 2015 till now, a lot has been happening when it comes to the development of our material and supply chain. But we're still committed to working with women in the garbage city in Cairo. So quickly, to take you forward, this is the environmental impact in this slide. This is where, this is how the garbage city look like. It's a city full of garbage where all the people there work on sorting and recycling garbage. It's unsafe. It's not legal, but we wanted to have a positive impact for the women there. After we upcycle the plastic, they come into the sheets that you've seen next to the car. If you go back again, please. So like these sheets, they come in sheets like this. These are like compacted, but they come in like this, and then we take them to our
Am I the only one who lost Yara? Can anybody else hear her?
No, I think she her connection is a little off.
Yeah, we lost her.
Okay, in the meantime, guys, just want to remind you of the competitions. I added a link where you can get all of the details in the chat box as well, so you guys can go ahead and check that out at any time.
And if we get Yara back, we would love for you to ask her some questions, because the objective of getting Yara on was to showcase some brilliant work, that is being driven by somebody's passion and making a difference to other people's lives. Not just lives, but also our lives in terms of our environment. So, yep. Do you think she's with us, or has she? Yeah. Yeah, I think this is the usual problem with the internet in Egypt. So should we then, I think it would only be fine to close. We will probably share her details, for anybody who might want to get in touch with Yara. And as you can see, she's obviously working with really, really good organizations such as Johnson & Johnson, INJOS, the American University, British Embassy, UNIDO. And like I mentioned, I think she's also been the recipient of awards for her brilliant work. So I think, having said that, we will then close, and just really want to thank everybody for joining. Our next session is on the 2nd of March on sustainable manufacturing. Whoever's interested, please do join back. And
Priya, you're on mute. Priya, you're on mute.
I seem to be on mute. Yeah, sorry guys. I was just saying that I think it's okay for us to close now. Don't know why it went on mute. But thank you so much for joining, and whoever's interested in the session on the 2nd of March, just pencil it into your diaries, and we'd love to have you back here. Thank you so much for your time. Stay well, stay safe. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.